Earlier this week, something very interesting happened. One of the city's mayoral candidates, a black man, blamed Indigenous men for the problem of violence against Indigenous women. And many people were really very shocked. Given his ethnicity, we thought that he would understand. But this isn't the first time this candidate has said some very interesting and questionable things against people of color and people from different cultural backgrounds at a mayoral debate. A few years ago, there was a question of how to resolve racism in our city. And he and other candidates of diverse backgrounds also said some very interesting and questionable things. When asked on how to resolve the problem of racism, a South Asian Muslim man claimed that this city did not have a problem with racism. By the way, Maclean's magazine claimed that Winnipeg was the most racist city in Canada. Another prominent candidate who identifies as Métis, when asked about how to resolve racism, turned to the issue of immigration, suggesting they clearly were not aware of the difference between diversity, inclusion, and immigration. Now, many people can be quite shocked because they think that they have elements that protect themselves from racism, bias, and discrimination. They think perhaps their ethnicity, their culture, their experience of being an immigrant, perhaps even their gender, in some way makes them a better ally and makes them feel like they do not have any biases or racist thoughts. That is not the case. For those of you who are following along with the bias outside the box test results, I can tell you that one of the key things that we're finding is that everybody is carrying bias, and everybody has elements of discrimination. And that includes people of color, that includes white women. And in some cases, actually, we found that white women had more biases than white men. What we did find, though, is that although biases were high and generally the same across the board, there were some protective factors in some mild ways. Having some elements of marginalization against you were more likely to decrease the bias, but not by much. What this says to us is that we cannot automatically assume that we are free from bias or free from the work of reviewing our thinking to make sure that that impact of our bias is not having significant negative consequences on the work and the engagement that we do. Quite often we think that just because we are dealing with somebody who's another person of color means that they won't be racist towards us. And that ain't true, baby. Let me tell you for sure, every single one of us knows a relative. If you're a person of color, you know a relative who said to you, you'd be better looking if you were lighter skinned. Or my aunt at some point in time who referred to immigrants when she was an immigrant, said, bloody immigrants. So my point here is that we are all fallible and we cannot rest on our laurels on the concept of reviewing our thinking and how that impacts the people around us. This is Dr. Ayman Abdurrahman signing off on the mayoral candidate debate, an unsolicited opinion here in Winnipeg.